Hey, this is Cari Q, and we are in session at JackRabbit SoundShack. That's why I'm calling him tonight. This issue, rather die alone than empty my hopes in an intricate lies. I want it so bad I could cry. If I'm honest, surely your intentions are far from a mission. Danger's the mind. I don't have a choice. I can run around wasting my whole damn life inside. Drinking, driving on the interstate, and thinking, should have had suspicion behind all contention. It's my own mistake. I'm tired, tired of being so scared. The city happens when you're pretty. They're all out to get me, and what do I care? I don't have a choice. I can run around wasting my whole damn life inside. I don't have a choice. I can run around wasting my whole damn life inside. So you wanna break me down and cut me down to size, and I'm sure you put it all before you stacked in lines. But I don't have a choice now. I can run around wasting my whole damn life inside. I don't have a choice. I can run around wasting my whole damn life inside.
All right, that was My Life Inside by Cari Q here at In Session at JackRabbit SoundShack. Vance, do you want to go ahead and get us started on this episode?
Sure. First off, how do you say your last name?
Quasar,
Okay.
but it's a
great.
secret. That's
Which-
why the Q is there. It's
Is it?
sad mystery.
I think Cari Q is easier to remember, and that's good that you go by that. Starting off, how did you get started in music, and where are you from?
I'm from Houston, Texas originally. I've always been a musician. As far back as I can remember, I've written songs in my head far before I was able to play guitar or understand any sort of theory. I remember putting on shows for my dad and a ton of stuffed animals when I was like 3 years old. And I've been singing since I was about 2. So
And what kind of drives that for you? Is it just a desire to perform, a desire to write? Is it more?
it all changes. When I was younger, it was a desire to perform. I was definitely like a center of attention type person. And as I've gotten older, I've become more of an introvert. And now it's just music is what makes me happy. It used to be what helped me cope. And now it's I don't know, it's how I interpret the world around me. And there's nothing like it if you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is your
Awesome.
process for writing songs?
Um, I mean, it varies. Sometimes I just pick up a guitar and it comes out the whole song. And sometimes I am just in the car and I hear something and it gets stuck in my head. And I often drive without music because there's always music bouncing around inside of me.
Which instrument did you pick up first?
Well, I started playing piano when I was about, I think, like 7 years old. I quickly stopped doing that. And
Okay.
I played guitar since I was 10 years old.
Okay. So
Yeah.
not too long after. I was curious because a lot of songwriters tend to at least get started somewhat on piano.
Yeah.
So, um, And right now, for the listeners, we've got about half of the band in here. We've got Cari, and then we have Greg, who came in as the guitarist today. How's it going, Greg?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking, man. I appreciate that. So I've got to kind of get this out, but looking you up before bringing you into the studio, the videos that I'd seen, you had a female guitarist, and then today we have Greg. So when did that kind of shift over, and when did that change?
Well, before the last few months, the musicians that I've played with were kind of hired guns.
Okay.
The previous guitarist, Rebecca, was kind of the main one when I was about 20 years old. That was 6 years ago.
Okay.
And what I've always wanted since I lost this, when I was in high school, I had a band and we practiced every day.
Mhm.
And we were a committed band, and it's been hard to find that in Austin.
Yeah.
So really, I was always looking for a band that would be my main band. And thankfully, I found Greg, and he fit great, and he has a great tone to bring to the table, and he's willing to do this music with me and be a part of it, which was really exciting.
He also seems really talented. Greg, how did they find you?
How did we meet, Cari?
You drove me home when I was drunk
I
at a
drove.
wedding.
Yeah. Well, we met before that.
Well, that's not the story I was
Same.
expecting to hear, but that's okay.
Same circle of friends.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and I remember that drive home because we were listening to something along the lines of BB King or something,
Yeah.
and we were bonding over blues stuff, and we said, we should really play a show together sometime. And like 4 months passed, and then we started doing the band stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long ago was that? About.
November 2015.
Has it been over a year?
Yeah, that was a Klaus wedding.
Oh, wow.
Was
Yeah.
that was a mutual friend's wedding or something?
Yeah,
Mhm.
really, really good friends of ours. Josh Klaus is also a musician in
Okay.
town. He's in a band called Fierce Kelly.
Fierce Kelly.
Yeah,
So if anybody wants to check out Fierce Kelly, you heard it from Cari Q.
Josh Klaus is on
Yeah.
point.
Josh
Yeah,
Klaus.
incredible.
Fierce Kelly. So why don't we go ahead and hear another song? This next song is called Problems by Cari Q here on In Session at JackRabbit SoundShack.
Way down deep, you know that I tell you the truth. While I may not play my artist card, damn, I'm getting good at being
influences, like who inspires you, you know, songwriter wise or musician wise? I'm sure you have a very wide
I do. It's
span.
actually it's pretty. It's not what you'd expect. I mean, I have the typical classic rock influences. I listened to a lot of Heart growing up. My favorite band was The Who when I was a kid. My
Nice.
first concert was the Moody Blues,
Nice.
and then The Who, and then Heart. I also really love the Arctic Monkeys and kind of the
Great band.
madness they bring to the table. There's this kind of insanity that I hope to that I feel that I can capture when I'm performing live as well. There's a little bit of madness right behind the eyes, and I don't know, but sound wise, just a lot of rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you guys go about producing a new song or something like that? Because listening to your music, and I'm going to kind of go into a further question with this later, but you seem to be able to bring a lot of the world into your music with instrumentation,
Yeah.
with the way things are presented. So how does that work out? How do things get from point A to point B?
So I'm a big traveler myself. So a lot of the
Right.
songs are traveling songs,
Mm-hmm.
and they incorporate different adventures I've had when I was in the Middle East, say, or Western Europe, or in the UK or South Africa. But one of the best parts about having a band, especially a band that's so accomplished on their own right,
Mm-hmm.
is that I typically bring a song to the table, and then we just, shed it, and we play until we get something. And usually it happens right away, or we get an idea, and it's a very encouraging environment, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Moment is a really brilliant arranger. Greg has a really particular style that's really honing the sound and making it cohesive.
Right.
And Paul is kind of the voice of reason
Okay.
in all aspects, where like we get carried away with like the ideas or adding something, and he's always there to be like, actually, he's usually there for just like to say no sometimes, which is great.
Yeah.
And he's
Sometimes you need a little reining in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has such a versatile sound. Paul's
Okay.
a great drummer. I mean,
Different styles. And things
yeah,
like that.
because he was jazz trained, and he can do hip hop, and
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome. So I've noticed, like in a lot of your music, you'll bring in different instrumentation. Now, is that kind of a collaborative thing? Because there are some songs I've heard you've got French accordion in there, some songs that have sitar in there, some, what I
Right.
mean, which brings that worldly sound to what you've got going on.
Well, as far as the professional recordings go, that was more like my imagination. And
Well, I mean more, yeah, like the idea of it. Because I mean, I don't imagine you're bringing like all these different instruments to practice, and you say, hey,
Yeah.
let's see what this sounds like today. And,
Yeah. Well, that was before the band was formed.
Okay.
I worked with a guy named Nick J,
Okay.
and he's brilliant producer. But when I first started recording that EP, I had just gotten back from traveling, and I was gone for 6 months. I lived in Israel during the war, and I came back with such a
Wow.
weird energy about me. And I was hearing all of this music all of the time, but I was at the same time, like, it was hard for me to go out and socialize. And this was like the only outlet I had. And I don't know. So the song Keys to the City, which is on my
Mhm.
EP,
Mhm.
that was set in Prague.
Okay.
I wrote it about Prague. So you can kind of just imagine the storyline. There's
Right.
a guy playing the accordion on the street. It's kind of a seedy environment, and there are people smoking cigarettes, but it's beautiful, but you're coughing on the nicotine, and you feel equal parts scummy and in awe of how gorgeous your surroundings are.
Yeah.
And Mitzvah being my song, where I'm just a complete hippie living out in the desert, because I was a desert tour guide, actually.
Mhm. Okay.
I worked at a hostel in the Negev
Wow.
for about a month.
Okay.
And so that song is word for word, just storytelling my experience. So
Yeah.
the sitar was really appropriate.
Yeah. Well, that entire record, I've listened to it a few times. It does call to mind a lot of imagery, which I really
Yeah.
can appreciate, and it was done really well. I thought they did it. You
Yeah.
guys, Nick J, did a really good job on that record, I thought.
As you can tell now, though, the band's sound is getting a little bit more towards rock, a little
It
more
is.
punk.
I was kind of surprised when you told me you're going to be bringing in 2 electric guitars,
Yeah.
because you haven't been in here, right? So the only
Yeah.
thing I've seen before is YouTube stuff, and it's pretty much acoustic from what I've seen on everything
yeah.
on YouTube and all of that. So
Yeah, that'll change shortly, thankfully.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, y'all do you. I just
Yeah.
it was surprising. All right, well, let's go ahead and keep things rolling here with the next song. This is probably one of my favorites from this session, but this song is called Chicken Little by Cari Q here on In Session at JackRabbit SoundShack.
I wanna be mad. I'm tired of feeling weak. It wouldn't be half so bad if you would calm down and let me sleep. I'm on the edge of a depression, psychological decline. Your 2 trains fixed on your condition, on your body, which is fine. But if your sky's not falling, please stop falling. And if your sky's not falling, please, I'll walk the world alone. I was solid A's can be your eye friends and battle zones. And overgrade inside of me, but for my pain, the secret battles now. My trauma's on my sleeve, yeah, my face. A graphic novel of anyone to be. So if your sky's not falling, please stop falling. If your sky's not falling, if your sky's not falling, please stop falling. If your sky's not falling, ain't I like to say, keep my promises. I feel just too much to stay. So if your sky's not falling, please stop calling. If your sky's not falling, please. If your sky is not falling, please stop calling. Sky is not falling, please. If your sky is not falling, please stop falling. Sky is not falling, please. Oh, if your sky is not falling, please stop falling. If your sky is not falling, please. Oh, if your sky is not falling, please stop falling. If sky is not falling,
So you like to travel a lot. You bring a lot of your travel influence into your songwriting.
Yeah.
And I overheard you guys talking about you're going to Europe,
Yeah.
and you have played in Europe, right?
Mhm.
And have you played any other parts of the world, Asia or any?
I've played a show in Israel, in Holland, in France, Scotland, Ireland. And I think that's it for Europe.
And how do you get those gigs? Do you have a promoter or
It's
an
all me.
agency? You do all the booking.
It's all me.
So you're doing your own
Yeah.
sort of grassroots sort of booking and management and
Yeah.
promotion, and you're making your own flyers. Because I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of the bands like Chill Russell and some of these other bands we brought in here, they have like Penny Loafer PR working for them, and other companies that they
Yeah.
pay that help promote them and get them gigs and these sorts of things, get them on the radio.
Well, thankfully, we are finally catching traction doing this all on our own. I also have a manager now in Scotland, so that's going to be a little bit easier. He's going to do a lot of booking.
Oh.
But up until this point, it's been all me, and it's kind of crazy though. The doors will open when you just show up with a guitar,
Yeah.
and we don't suck. So,
I think that's a big part of it.
Where
for
are you guys
sure.
playing in England?
we haven't booked any shows in England yet, but if so, we're gonna go down to London because we have our old drummer, our drummer for our last 2 tours in the UK, lives there and he's going to
Cool.
school. But I mean, we play Edinburgh every year. We play the Fringe Festival. We just got back. I was recently in Belfast this past December, and so we're gonna do shows in Cork, in Dublin, Belfast, and then back up to Edinburgh and Glasgow.
So you have friends there that kind of help you set these things up. They're based out of there. That always helps.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wait,
Awesome.
Yeah.
So where I saw that you've done some other podcasts, and one of them in particular, is there a cover?
Oh yeah.
And is that one other friend of yours that does a podcast?
That's
or
a good friend of mine, Chris Strand, and I think that's the best interview I've ever done, just because he's such a good friend of mine and he's so intelligent. So the problem, like going into a conversation with Chris Strand, is we go way too deep, and I was worried that we would hit a point where it'd just be like a black void, you know.
just going too far down the rabbit hole. kind of thing.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then just silence, like, whoa. I think at one point he said, "Well, are you happy?" And I went, "Dude." But that's honestly, it was such a good conversation. It was supposed to be like 45 minutes long, and we talked for like 2 hours. So
Wow, that signs of a good conversation for
Yeah.
sure. That's nice.
yeah,
Gotcha. So, Greg, with you being kind of, well, I don't know if you're new to the band or whatever, you've been in there for a little bit over a year. What kind of stuff have you brought to the table? Are you bringing in songs that you've kind of started writing, or are you just kind of following what Cari's doing? How does it work? How's the dynamic working between you two?
I write parts for what she's been writing.
Okay.
Fortunately, she's a much better songwriter than I am. And we haven't been playing for over a year. We did the meeting thing, but I don't think it's been a year yet in the band. So it's
Gotcha.
been fast moving.
Okay.
I haven't done this kind of interview with other bands that I've been in much longer, and I haven't done the things that we have done together as a band. And so it's excellent. It's wonderful. And it's a new adventure, and it's not where it's going to get to, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, I run the songs through my brain, and I write guitar parts till 4 a.m, and hopefully get them done in time.
Nice.
And we play live shows and have a great time, and that's pretty much how we do things right now.
Awesome. How long have you been playing guitar yourself?
About like seven years or so.
So really not that long.
Not too long. I was not a child musician like all these other talented people running around, and that's kind of been one of the driving forces for me because
I feel like you have to catch up.
yeah. Well,
Okay.
before I played music, it was a rule on road trips that I was not allowed to sing.
Well, that's
because
an
I was
unfortunate rule. Okay.
It was I couldn't dance, I couldn't sing, I couldn't play, I couldn't keep rhythm, I couldn't do anything.
You just sit back in the backseat and be quiet?
Yeah. No.
I'm so sorry.
No, I wouldn't do that either.
Okay.
But since picking it up, it was just, it's the most fun thing. It's the best thing I've ever done with my life.
Is it cathartic?
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's all of my best memories are playing music.
That's awesome.
And in these past few years, I've done things that I never thought were remotely possible. Starting at a later age, there's that feeling that you can't get past a certain point because you have to start when you're 5 years old, and you have to be
Right.
you just have to play until 4 a.m. every
Right.
day.
Yeah. Play till your fingers bleed.
Yeah, and well, they didn't not really bleed. That's a little
Callous up.
crazy. But it used to be my goal in life to get good enough at music that I could go to a restaurant and play in exchange for food. And
That's
once
an extremely reasonable goal.
it was a
I think that's
reasonable goal.
One of the more reasonable goals I've heard from a musician.
And I was very surprised and confused when I hit that goal after a couple of years of playing. And I had to make new goals. And it's just been a wonderful exercise of reaching a little bit further. And playing my first festival was amazing. And now, we're talking about, and I've never left. I've gone to Canada, which isn't really like leaving America.
Right. Well, I've been to Mexico. When you live in Texas, it's Texas
Exactly.
extended. So
And so, That's a thing I never thought I would ever do in my life, going to play the Fringe Festival in Scotland. And I'm having a hard time coming up with new goals.
Wow.
Just keep beating those goals, hitting those goals, right?
Yeah.
So where's your favorite place to play in Austin? Where do you guys most often play, or do you play more out of town than you do in town?
I'm really digging Stay Gold right now. They've only been open for like a year, and I really, really dig that stage. There's always a super enthusiastic crowd, and they want to dance, and they want to get up close, and I love that. And it used to be Blackheart, and I still like Blackheart. It's just harder to get in these days. So we
Been
just
to both of those. I think I prefer Stay Gold
do you?
over
It's
Black.
classy.
Just yeah,
right? It
and
feels
it's a little
classy.
bigger. You know what I mean? So there's more room. Like being a sound guy, there's more room. Things sounded a little bit better at
We
Stay
usually
Gold. when
play
I've been there.
outside at Blackheart.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I've only seen the inside shows there, so
Yeah.
I don't
And-
know what they're outside.
And your next show is actually February 9th at Hotel Vegas.
Yeah.
And that's with Bell Curve, Magic, Rockers of Texas, and Cari, Illinois.
Yeah, that's gonna be such a sick show. I've never played Hotel Vegas under my own name. I played a Harry Nilsson cover show once, and I was just singing for that, which was cool.
Okay.
You gotta eat.
Yeah,
No,
well,
I
yeah.
love Harry Nilsson. I'm not even gonna pretend that I wasn't super stoked to do that. But yeah, they're definitely grungier bands than we are, which is gonna make this all the more fun.
Is that kind of where y'all are looking to go, or is it just something you just like being around?
I love being around. I love
Okay.
punk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I love rock, like harder rock, crunchy.
Did I hear you guys mention a giant dog earlier? We all were talking to each other.
My cousin's in a giant dog.
Really? I love that band.
Do you really?
I
Sabrina
do.
is amazing.
Yeah. The first time I saw them, a buddy of mine and I were actually chatting with Sabrina, not knowing that she was the front person for the band, because we were actually there to see another band, and this was a few years back.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty nice introduction to that band. Since that night, I've been a fan of theirs. So, and
Yeah.
it's cool to see where they've been going. This isn't about them. This is about you guys. But it's cool to see where they've been going through for a giant dog, and then Sabrina with Bobby Jealousy and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but I grew up seeing them as well. Like, as
Yeah.
my cousin's been in that band since high school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why don't we hear the next song? This song is called Laura.
Does it hurt when your soul passes on? Did you feel his hand on yours for too long? Did you feel the heat leave your bones? Are you still asleep? Dreaming on. Dreaming on. Was it a pleasant flight from this day to be? Does it hurt when you're so passes on? Did you feel his hand on yours for too long? Did you feel the heat? Live your bones, are you still asleep? Dreaming on.
Well, you said you keep having to set new goals. And what are you guys' goals for 2017? What is the plan for the band?
Well, I've said this a few times recently, but my goal with music is to take it to a degree where I can do it and not worry about bills, where I can make a living doing this. Like, so I don't really care about fame. If it comes, fine. But honestly, just to be able to play like 2 shows a month and be good, 3 shows a month, honestly, 4 shows a week, I'm still good.
Yeah.
I love playing. I love being on stage. I want to keep traveling with it. I want it to be the vessel that takes us places. I want to keep pushing it. I want to put out records.
I think that's kind of everybody's goal, is to be able to make a living doing what they love doing.
Yeah.
Isn't it not work?
Right.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
How many records do you have out?
That's a difficult question because I put some out in a previous band in high school. Really, the only thing I have that I would push that I would sell is that EP.
And
The
where,
Solid Ground EP?
Yeah.
The recent one?
where can people get that? I'm sure you have it as a download. Is it at
Yes.
Waterloo?
It's
And
on Bandcamp. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify.
It's on Google Play. It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've listened to it there.
sounds like you got a lot of info, and you have a website.
Yeah. CariQmusic.com. This is also really random, but I recorded a pop single in South Africa, and that's playing there. So if you're interested in hearing that,
On your
Sweet.
website?
no, if you search my full surname, Cari Koiser, it's called Fall of Rome, but very different sound. So
Awesome.
yeah.
I've noticed that you have a lot of actual music out, but you said this EP is the only thing you're really pushing at the moment.
Yeah, this is what I identify with this project.
Okay.
And where was that recorded?
That was recorded right here in Dripping Springs.
Was it?
Yeah, with a Nick Chase studio.
Very cool. Very cool. I saw a picture of you on Facebook at Arlen Studios.
Yeah.
And David and I have sort of a history. We both went to Mediatech Institute.
Did you really?
When
Yeah.
it was
So
there.
we worked out of there while it was still.
That's actually how we
Oh.
met. And I interned at Pardinalis, and he was actually offered the gig too. And so we go back to like the whole, Arlen, Pardinalis, and that whole
sister
scene.
studios.
Yeah, Greg played
Yeah.
the Arlen Christmas party with me.
Oh, yeah?
Yep.
It's a great
Nice.
studio.
I haven't seen it since they've redone it. Is it nice?
It was.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, gotcha.
They had a whiskey bar.
Oh, did they?
we need to work that in. Maybe not whiskey, maybe tequila.
They had tequila too.
Oh,
They had tequila bar, the whiskey bar.
I think they're sponsored by Tito's too.
Yep.
But
Yeah, there were lots of liquor stations.
Oh, yeah.
we're gonna work up to that. We're gonna
Yeah, we'll see.
maybe we'll get Austin Beer Works involved.
That'd be nice. Get some
Ooh,
Pearl Snap
plug.
in here.
Yeah.
And what's the local tequila?
Z?
No, it doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. But yeah, any sponsors out there looking to get involved, hit us up. What else you got?
So before we get to kind of y'all plugging yourselves and us plugging ourselves, I've got a question I'd like to ask. It's kind of for both of you, but music is extremely important to me,
Yeah.
and it connects with me in different ways. Different music connects with me in different ways, different parts of my psyche, different parts of my emotion, things like that. But I wanted to ask you guys, what is music to you? I know that's a very vague question, but what is it to you first and foremost?
It's what keeps me moving, what keeps me centered, what keeps me, it's my goals, it's my relief at the end of the day. I get bent out of shape if I can't do this thing because it's my release, and it's, you're saying you drive with the radio off, and That's the thing I've noticed I've just been doing, and I've just been like running these things through my head. And it's just kind of like it's like there's a switch that's on or off, and it's never off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So it's just kind of it's life.
Okay.
That's a good answer.
You said that
Same?
wonderful.
Okay,
I
well then-
just
no, I'm
ditto.
just- nice. Well, I will say that there isn't a whole lot of music that I really connect with. A lot of times when I listen, I'll be able to point out certain things I like about it, certain things that I don't, so on and so forth. But I do have to say that y'all's music, I really do connect with the way you write, the way you storytell. It is, again, it doesn't happen with me with a lot of bands. There are about maybe a handful that I can pick out, but yours is one that I really connect with, and I'm able to. Hopefully, I see it the way you present it. I see it the way I see it, but hopefully, it's the same way that you're trying to showcase it to folks. And I really appreciate your songwriting and the way you guys play and the way y'all arrange everything, put it all together. You guys did an awesome job
Thank you so much.
with all of that. You did a great job playing here in the studio today. Vance and I really appreciate it. I think things are going to sound great.
Yes, thank you for coming out. Appreciate you
Yeah,
taking
thanks
the
for having
time.
us.
Yep.
Do you guys have anything you want to plug?
Just our show, February 9th at Hotel Vegas. Please check out the website, get the EP. It's CariQmusic.com. That's CARIQ.
I was pronouncing your name Cari for a while until I
Makes sense.
found it somewhere.
At least you're not calling me Carl.
Well,
It's a common thing.
Carl?
Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
I'm sorry.
Just went on a California tour, and on one of the signs outside the venue, it said Carl Q.
Wow.
Yeah, we got Carl Cuyuser on here.
Oh,
Anyway,
Cute.
okay. All right. So the website again is CariQmusic.com.
Just
Yes.
Carl.com.
CarlQmusic.com.
No Q, just Carl.
All right. So, guys, we want to thank everybody for listening in. This was episode number 5 with Cari Q. Coming up next, we have Finite Fidelity, I believe, coming up in a couple of weeks for you guys.
on
So
the
stay tuned for
12th,
that.
Right.
Well, they're coming in on the 12th.
yeah.
The episode air date will be afterward. But again, we want to say thank you. Thank you for listening in. InSessionJRSS.com is our website. You can find all of our new episodes. You can find anything that we're trying to push through with this. Vance, do you have anything else to finish with?
No, just go on and take a listen. Definitely check out our episode 4 with Timberos Del Norte. We're really proud of that one, how that one turned out. And it's just exciting to keep cranking these out and having such great bands come in and be a part of this thing.
And we hope to keep pushing this stuff forward for you guys and bringing you newer and better bands. Thank you guys so much for listening in. We are going to wrap the show up with the song Solid Ground off of Cari Q's EP, Solid Ground. Thank you guys so much for listening in again. We will see you next time.
It's overwhelming. My head is on straight. If there could be a love like this, with all my heart in all my head, I know I'm drowning, I cannot resist. How am I to know that you just wish you weren't around. I recall these what you say, all those dreams I had instead. I do not need kerosene to set me on. It's for the dreams in your head, the smoky clouds above my bed. I do not need them where I'm going. I go. How am I to know that you won't let me down? It's you. You won't change your mind. Forget it happened on that night. Now I'm stepping over my pedestal, stand on solid ground. It was safer from that height. Now I'm vulnerable. I wish you were around. I just wish you were around. Now I'm stepping off of my pedestal, stand on solid ground. You were safer from that height. Now I'm vulnerable. I wish you were around. I wish you were around. I just wish you were around.
Little chicken.